So, a very good afternoon to all present here. We would like to apologize for the delay in starting the session. Without further ado, let's go ahead. So, I'm Pallavi R. Kamath, a first year student of MHA from the Department of Hospital Administration, PSPH MAHE Manipal, and I'm thrilled to welcome everyone to the 19th International Health Literacy webinar hosted by the MHLU. So, this session is tailored for healthcare providers, researchers, policymakers, industry professionals, academics, and the public, aiming to boost the health literacy for a brighter and healthier future. So, before introducing our webinar speaker for the day, I have a brief request to all the participants. Please make sure your cell phones and microphones are off to avoid any background noise. You can post any questions in the chat box during the session, and we will address a few selected questions considering the time limitations. Thank you. So, in today's webinar, we will hear experts' insight on early childhood nutrition education in schools beyond health literacy. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please allow me to introduce our esteemed speaker for the day, Ms. Gauri Shingot, registered dietitian, founder, CEO of Juvenile Wellbeing. Ms. Gauri is a registered dietitian, an ACE certified fitness personal trainer, ACE certified health coach, and certified fitness nutrition specialist. She is also a certified behavioral change specialist in weight management specialty. She heads Juvenile Wellbeing Private Limited as their CEO and Program Development Specialist. She has over 25 years of experience in nutrition and dietetics, with a special emphasis on community well-being in India and the United States. She is currently on the panel of teaching faculty for Panacea Health Education for Commission on Dietetic Registration USA for nutrition in pregnancy and MI in advanced diabetic educator courses. Ms. Gauri consulting is the consulting dietitian for First Cry and World of Moms and many competitive sports teams for children and adults alike. With the second Dan black belt in Shito Ryu Karate, Ms. Gauri's martial art experience spans more than 10 years. The personal safety program at have been specifically developed for women and children by Gauri and her team. By Miss Gauri and her team, based on her own personal life experiences and those shared by many women she has come across. As a mother of three daughters, girls and women's safety is really close to her heart, which is much more than knowing martial arts. With a passion for nutrition, fitness, and community, Ms. Gauri envisions a healthy and safe lifestyle for everyone where life is added to years. So, without any further ado, I would like to invite Ms. Gauri to take over. I will present the presentation and give you access to control it. So, yes. Is my screen visible to all of you? Ma'am, is it visible, the screen?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is visible. Thank you.
Yes.
It's visible.
Yes, I'll be putting it on presentation mode. Yes. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, faculty, members of Manipal University, Prasanna Public School of Health. Thank you for inviting me and letting me talk about a subject that is very, very close to my heart. We early childhood nutrition education is something that is still making the inroads into the world of nutrition. In India, but it is something that I can say that is not a new concept across the world. Um, Before we get started, I just wanted to ask a general question to everybody. When and who was the first person that you remember taking you or teaching you about food? Uh, so if while I'm talking about how we're going to go through this presentation, you could just write that into the chat box. That would be great. Yeah. So basically, this presentation is going to be on a very simple manner and making explaining what early childhood nutrition education is, why is it important, and its impact on multiple spheres of not just individual's life, but also the entire economy of a country. and these are based on the information is based a lot on the UN FAO study that was done in 2001, because we use those and use those guidelines as a base level for what we do in the community. So let's get started. I'm just going to quickly. So I don't know if how many of you answered, but the first person who actually taught me about nutrition education or nutrition was my grandmother, and I did not know it then that, but that was something that had a lasting effect on how nutrition education, especially early childhood nutrition education, has developed in by Juvenate and also in our country. So it's really interesting to understand where it all comes from. So nutrition itself is the study of how the body uses the food we eat. That's as simplistic as it can be. But nutrition education is something that we talk about or we go through at the collegiate level, where we are going or pursuing college level education programs, where in like a bachelor's in clinical nutrition, then you go ahead and do your public health, if, as some of you probably must have done. But nutrition education has ancient roots in ancient India and even have been mentioned in scriptures like the Charaka Samhita or the Shushruta Samhita, where they talk about how a balanced nutrition really helps and encourages um, the proliferation of life, one, and also the longevity of life. One of the biggest things here is these have been the key to starting the Ayurveda, where we learn a lot about balance in and ancient medical sciences. So in our Gurukul system, old Gurukul system, nutrition education was something that was, you know, there, but it was on a practical skill level education, where teaching children, what they call now farm to folk, but in those days, how to grow the agricultural sciences, botanical sciences, herbal medicine sciences, and also the skills of cooking and utilizing the cooking in such a manner that maximizes the nutrient availability of the food for the individual who's eating. So this is the basic of what the nutrition education is. And in modern times, like I said, it we are looking at collegiate courses where uh, when you've passed your 12th standard, you learn about nutrition education through your college and through courses, but there's very little information available. Although as we go along, you realize that there are nutrition education programs that are run very diligently by the government of India. So before we get to that, yeah, you can change the slide, Pallavi. Thank you.
Yes.
Before we get to
Before I
that,
do that, can I just unmute myself, like mute myself so that I don't interrupt the session?
uh, are we ready? Yes. So understanding why early childhood nutrition education is important. I'm going to primarily talk about what is going on in India, and we will touch upon how other countries are dealing with this issue, or these kind of programs in their schools. One of the biggest things, look, if you could go back, please, Pallavi. So one of the reasons, major issues, yeah, not to the why early childhood. Yes, that's right. Thank you. So one of the primary reasons, especially in India, is the dual burden of malnutrition. When I say dual burden of malnutrition, we are talking about a country that has massive disparity in the nutritional statuses, where we do have a large population that is undernourished, and we also now have a population that is going into the overweight and obesity realm. And in fact, our PM Modi ji had recently done a social media post on encouraging adults and everybody to partake in physical activity to counter this scourge of overweight and obesity. Uh, Based on the statistical claims that we are now somewhere on the near the third, only behind America and China in obesity, overweight and obesity. So that those are alarming statistics and alarming numbers, but that is something that we can definitely deal with. And one of the biggest issues is these create lifestyle and metabolic diseases that can easily be taken care of. And when we say lifestyle diseases, we're talking about um, things that are so easily preventable, especially overweight, obesity to certain extent. That's why I've written both lifestyle and metabolic, because there is metabolic background in some of these diseases. So lifestyle changes really make a big difference when it comes to the reasons why we need to introduce this. Um, One of the biggest reasons why our company started the early childhood nutrition education programs was as all dietitians are, and some of you might know this, we do a lot of counseling, and a lot of the counseling we do is for adults. So one of the things that we realized is the habit formation for adults is actually far more difficult, especially after the age of 25 to 30. Then it becomes a little bit more difficult, where unless it is physician suggested a requirement for the individual to go through this nutrition counseling, uh, most adults really don't care, or will care just enough to see a change and then let go. They don't there is no continuous habit formation or habit change that occurs on a consistent basis over time. So this is something that we as counselors found in our practice as well. And again, one of the biggest reasons is social media and the information dissemination. Not all information on social media is wrong. uh, that is something that we've noticed. A lot of the influencers do their research. It's just sometimes the format of how it's been displayed and suggested to the masses is a lot to do with fear mongering, where the masses will listen when you scare them. So that is something that we are one of the reasons why we really came into developing this program. Can we go to the next slide, please? Current scenario in India, for nutrition education is very it started with, we have our national nutrition mission that has been going on for many years. It has recently developed into the Poshan Abhiyan by the current government, and again it has a slew of programs that is under this Poshan Abhiyan that helps uh, uh,
ತಲ ತಲ ಅಣ್ಣ ಬ ಅಣ್ಣ
sorry. So it has a slew of programs that do are very focused on the nutrition and the nutrition outcomes, positive nutrition outcomes of the citizens of India. And these some of all of these programs are phenomenal. Let's take the midday meals. Midday meal program is a meal provision program. Uh, all of you are familiar with this. I mean, all of you are familiar with all of these programs that I've mentioned here. The midday meal program. However, the midday meal program is very focused on just providing meals. There are new companies out there that are providing meals and sporadic nutrition education. But again, as we go on, you'll realize that that education is given very specifically to specific group of children or group of adults. The ICDS, early childhood education, is one of the most comprehensive programs that in the public school systems, in the Anganwadis and the Balwadi systems. They are also, and it is an integrated child development service. So basically, what it integrates is the health component as well as the education component. So that is a lot of strain on this particular group. And I've worked with some of the Anganwadis, and we do find that there is a lot that can be provided to them in terms of education as well. Here, the education also is provided to the early childhood education means it's specific to language and math. It's not there's their concentration or focus is primarily on those two subjects. Especially when you talk about the new national education policy, that is what the pre-primary and the primary sections. The focus is primarily on language, math, and as they grow older, onto sciences. Okay, which is great, but that still has a there is still a massive gap in the health component of education. um Aniyamiya Mukti Mukt Bharat. This is one. India suffers from approximately 40 to 50% of anemic children and women and pregnant women. And this is one of the programs that also provides nutrition education, but primarily to that group, where we're talking about adolescent women, girls. We're talking about pre-pregnant or pregnant women, lactating women, whose iron deficiency anemia is a major factor in a lot of things, such as productivity, such as health outcomes, pregnancy outcomes. So this is where nutrition education really does come into play, and the government is doing that. On the other side is the private school education system. They follow, you've got different boards of education, and the national education policy, which was revamped in 2021, um, has come out and shifted the focus on, um, one is basic skills, basic arithmetic, language, local language, understanding that, and then has gone on. So they have introduced sporadic components of nutrition education in the new education policy, but that starts at a middle school or a secondary school level. Okay, can we go to the next slide? So private schools basically work in a way that uh, they have a specific structure from the board itself, but they do for the lower classes provide alternate education. There are schools that are experiential schools that do have very comprehensive programs in whether it's agriculture, gardening, and we're happy to say they do look at our program and want to integrate that into the system. So can we have the next slide, please, Pallavi? When we're talking about nutrition education, early childhood nutrition education, I had said before that India is not unique to this idea. So when we look at different countries, one of the bigger countries that has already been working on this has been the US. The USDA had recently in 2020-21 just brought out their new childhood education policy, as well as their program, which is absolutely free to whoever takes it in the public school systems. Um, when I was in college, I was a part of the school systems that brought in dietitians to teach nutrition sporadically, maybe once a month or once a quarter, to the children. And that too started off from the middle school level onwards, where the grasping of knowledge is much different than earlier younger children. Pallavi, can we please change the slide? Thank you. So what exactly? So US is one of the one of the countries that does have an early childhood nutrition education program, and it is till now, till the new policies that were just put in place. It was a federal system, the centralized system that was allowed for all public school systems. Japan is one that actually has a very practical component for early childhood nutrition education, nutrition and practical learning education, because they believe in there's a system called tokatsu that they implement in their schools, where children from the age of 3 till about 6 7 go through practical learning of basic skills, whether it's cooking, cleaning, mannerisms, all the social kind of skills and personal skills that are required for basically to survive the world as an adult basically. So what early child, so when we started this, we looked at these two practical components from the Japanese. We looked at the US, components of it, and we realized that a mash of both of them, like a collaboration of both of them, is something that would definitely suit our Indian environment. Okay, so when we started our early childhood nutrition education, we started with in 2016 with basics of nutrition. This was done. Uh, this was done with us walking into a classroom because a school required us to be there to monitor their children's nutritional intake, and we realized that there was so much of scope to provide the education to the children in the classrooms themselves. That's one. We realized we were teaching. Teaching the children is one component, because we were doing that over a period of time. We realized we're teaching the children, and the children would take that information and take it home and tell the parents, but that translation was not happening in the tiffin box, where the foods that were given were either the same, or were still not improved for better health. So what basically we realized that we had to integrate and have a curriculum, an education process for the parents as well, along with this. And to make it, to complete that holistic chain, and the holistic circle, teachers had to be educated as well in basics of nutrition, and what the dissemination of information can be done in terms of nutrition in the classroom. um, I'll give you a very small example of why this came about, why we involved the teachers. One is because once operations became bigger, it's difficult to be everywhere all at once. Second reason was we realized that the communication that is done by the teachers is very, um, it stays in a child's mind like a blueprint, and teachers have a huge influence in how the child's behavior, the child's uh, academic outcome, and many a times the health outcomes also come about. And one of the sessions we were doing with the children in the classroom, and we were talking about green leafy vegetables, and we were showing different types of green leafy vegetables. And one of the teachers, just as a reaction, said, "Oh, I don't like that." The entire class of children turned around and says, "We don't like it either." So we realized that the information that is disseminated by the by teachers, the classroom teachers, has a huge impact on how the outcome, the nutritional education or the academic education or even the health outcome of the child is. So we also have created a teacher training program for this. Um, One of the biggest things that we we focused on was the consistency of the program. Like math and language is required in the classroom and to be taught to children from a very young age, from 4 onwards, um, we realized that it was really important to have a consistent curriculum based education system for the children so that they could, they could, one is recall, second is apply, and third is disseminate to other people, maybe whether it's their friends or whether it's their, whether classmates or friends outside in their social life. So this was very very important to us, and we consistent education. I'm going to come to the next slide and explain the tools that we used. This is Ocean Chakra. This is one of the basic tools that we developed. Um, One of the reasons why we developed this specific tool was we tried to teach 5-year-olds regarding the nutrition, basics of nutrition, food groups, portion sizes, and things like that. And we were using, at one point in 2017, we were using the food guide pyramid, and we realized that it is an extremely difficult concept to teach a 5-year-old. Whereas the first question where the 5-year-old the first question they ask is, what is a pyramid? So we're even starting with a base level concept of pyramids rather than going into the actual food components. So our team developed this entire Poshan Chakra as an education, very basic education tool to teach children in their classroom and adults as a part of the workshop uh, about the various food groups, the balance of nutritional intake. We talk about physical activity. If you look at level 5, that it also takes into consideration different forms of physical activity. And level 6 also takes into consideration water and water consumption, which is something that we over the years have realized is very crucial, because a lot of children are not encouraged to sip water during their in their classrooms. They have to ask permission for it. Um, and as you notice that, if you've noticed that everything is based on the hand. So instead of talking about a spoonful of, because we realized the biggest issue was my spoon is different than your spoon. So which spoon do I actually take? Is what was the basic issue. So to avoid that issue completely, we went to a traditional system of how we eat with our hands, and how our ancestors used to measure food or grain before cooking. So, before or after cooking. So this is basically based on your hand as a map to provide base level guidelines to how much one should eat, whether it's a child or an adult. So again, this is not set rules; these are guidelines, and this is what we used as a part of the education system. Can we have the next slide, please? Thank you. So from 2016, when we started this, late 2000, in October, November, that we started this program. To date, covered, we've been able to consistently educate over 3,500 children. When we talk about children, we're talking about children from the age group of 4 to 6 years of age. Currently, that is the focus group that we are talking about, the pre-primary children that we focused on. Along with that, we were able to educate 150 more and more teachers, about 1,500 plus parents, with this entire holistic program that is something that we provide to schools. So how this works is we tie up with schools, uh, preschools and primary schools, because our program starts from the age of 4 and goes up to the age of 10. So that covers from LKG to 5th standard. And it is a progressive learning program, where it is based on curriculum that is that was based on a survey done with mothers and dietitians and dietitian mothers, to understand what information would they want their, or what education would they want their children to learn when at that age about nutrition and health. So we do integrate nutrition, we integrate health and hygiene into this, and that entire program is a goes through the academic year for the for the students. So what we found was, for the sessions that we took, the attendance that we saw was much higher. Uh, Parents reported children having better immunity, where they said they didn't fall sick as often, they were able to attend school more often. Um, teachers and school directors reported better academic scores from the previous years. So that is something that we were really happy about. We would, to be very honest, there's still a link to be provided between this the assessment scores and our nutrition activity. Um, right now, we're hoping that it's just us, but it could also be the newer generation is smarter. And then we as practitioners in the classroom also have our observations, where we notice specific children, especially neurodivergent children, who were showing better outcomes in terms of cognition, in terms of participation. So this was something that we were really happy about, and this is something that we were able to document in the last 1 year itself. Can we have the next slide, please? The critical components of the early childhood program. There has to be a concept to teach children. And when we go into schools, one of the biggest concepts that we realize that has already been taught to children is junk food. This is not good, and you should not eat this. So with a very negative connotation. However, we come with the premise that all food is good, and we also talk about how much to eat, what to eat, when to eat, with what to eat, how to eat. So those are the things that we really look at. Um, Again, the US system and the Japanese system also works with preschoolers primarily, and then dissipate that information above, where it reinforces. So the primary schools, if you've gone through the pre-primary education system and then go into the primary school education system for early childhood nutrition programs, what happens is that progressive learning reinforces what you've learned before, but also provides new ideas and concepts for learning that tie into that entire nutritional component. So this is something that most of these programs are focused on. Again, inclusion of teaching and non-teaching staff in the education process, we found is extremely important, and that is a really critical component. When it comes to parents, one of the things that we notice is most parents, especially preschool parents, are a little, uh, for the lack of a better word, uh, are busy to be able to attend every single program. And this is something that we've noticed as practitioners, and schools also have a big complaint about that. Young parents do not turn up for their child's PTM or workshops that are provided in the school setting, and that is a shame. So, but that is something, that's why we have that parent program that we really focus on a consistent basis. Can we have the next slide, please? So I'm going to run through the next few slides so we don't over uh, go over our time. So the health impact of as public health students and practitioners, policymakers, I think you're all very well aware of the health impact of school nutrition education. Even provision of school nutrition in the school, like such as the midday meals, has a huge impact on the health outcome of the child. Where if the many children who maybe that is the only meal that they're getting in a day, show positive outcomes such as better, attention span, retention of education, better academic performance. Um, but with our program, because it is something that is a consistent program, we found that a lot of these children were also showing increased height and weight markers. So, and better attendance in school, like I said before, and better immunity, as parents had also suggested. But the impact overall, when you introduce early childhood nutrition education into the system, is definitely better performance, whether it's in academics or in something that our government now is pushing, that is sports. And sports performance is also increasing and becoming, we're putting India in the forefront of the sports performance arena. So that really makes a big impact. And when you go into the adulthood, these children who get educated and will go into their adulthood, they have they already have that habit of making better food choices. They have in completely better, changed and improved in nutritional markers, and they also have, to a certain extent, reduced risk of chronic diseases or lifestyle diseases, where better choices have led them to a better, positive outcome. So, and finally, when you go into the entirety, it is better performance at work as adults, and that really makes a big difference when we talk about the economics. Can we talk about the? Can we go to the next slide, please? The economic impact of early childhood nutrition education is definitely. I mean, all again, as public health students and faculty, you are totally aware of this, but this is what we are trying to strive for with our education programs, so that we have reduced healthcare costs, um, again, repetition, improved academic performance, which allows children to make better choices in their further education, increase parental productivity. When the child is not sick at home, when your toddler is not sick at home, you have the ability to go out and work without having to worry about, oh, mere bachche ko bukhar hai, or they're not feeling well, and having that issue. Because every child's biggest nightmare is, my child is sick and I have to take off work. That so the productivity increases when your children are healthier. Okay, and this in turn gives the local economy a boost, where you're buying locally produced produce, and fruits and vegetables and things like that. Overall, in the long term, from the parental perspective, it's a higher income, lifetime earning. We are earning more because we didn't have to spend time staying at home, tending to our sick children. That's one of the, because our children are not sick as often, and that means we are earning a lot more over our lifetime. As these children go into adulthood, like I said before, the national figures for chronic and lifestyle diseases would definitely come down. And this is something that we really have to focus on. With that is our primary objective of this program, is to help in the future. This is not a short term gain kind of program. It is something that is long term, sustainable, and will show the positive outcomes as we go along into adulthood. Again, increased workforce productivity when children are less sick. Parents are able to work. When parents are able to work, it accumulates into workforce productivity. And return of investment for the government. So if the government takes up nutrition education from the pre-primary school level and integrates it into this system, basically what is, I mean, the World Bank and I believe the FAO study also suggested that for every dollar spent by the government on nutrition education provide will provide 18, approximately on an average $18 as return on that $1 investment. Yeah. So these are definitely the positive outcomes of what early childhood nutrition education can provide to the individual as well as the nation. So this is why we are ardent proponents of nutrition education in schools, from starting from preschools. Okay, can we have the next slide, please? The future of early childhood nutrition education. One of the biggest things that I believe is, because we live in such a technologically charged, everything has technology behind it and associated with it, and technologically charged world. Technology is going to be a major feature, but how one of the premise of what our program uh, focuses on is the is reduced screen time. Okay, so reducing screen time, but having technology as a back end for the information or the education component is going to be the biggest game changer as we go into the future. Gamification, and that is something that we've already started doing. Gamifying what we do in the classroom. Everything is a game or it's an activity. There is cross-cultural, cross-pedagogy learning methodologies that go on. However, games are the easiest things and readily accepted and absorbed by students of any age. So this is something that we really feel is the future, whether it's um, physical games or whether it's online games. Or, although we are again proponents of physical games, where the physicality of doing something really makes a big difference. In fact, we a lot of our games have hand-eye coordination components, just to mimic how to niwala khana hai and put it to hand to plate to mouth kind of uh, you know scenario. So the innovative component, and what we really require at the end of the day is, innovative educators. Now, you as public health students are the best ones who come from varied backgrounds, in whether it's nutrition, social sciences, and a lot of the other things, community based programs, where you can integrate and teach children in various platforms, various levels of a society, whether it's private school, whether it's the Anganwadis in or a tribal Anganwadi in mid Maharashtra or mid Karnataka. Those are the things that we really those are the people who are really looking for, is innovative educators who are willing to go out there and be a part of the nutrition education program. And I, and last but not least is to have policy change so that nutrition education can be taught in every school from preschool level to at least the fifth grade level in a progressive manner, so that the as the children go on into the middle school and the secondary school level, they are not inundated with too much of information regarding this, because they've already gone through this. And this is all age appropriate, making sure that it is all age appropriate, and it is all uh, based on fact rather than opinion, and disseminated in the correct manner. So having said that, I think we've come to the end of our presentation. If I will open this up to questions. These are the resources, some of the resources that we used. Thank you. And if you want to see what we've done, um, you can go onto our Insta handle and check out the videos and things that we do with the children, the programs that we have on continuously. Right now we change the program in such a way that we conduct summer camps for these children or over the summer, so they are one is engaged, two is learning skills, and it is something different than your everyday arts and crafts, and just that not and it's basically to integrate life skills into the even the summer camp learning programs. The other QR code is our website. You can scan that and visit that. So thank you so much. I'm sorry I ran through the entire thing. I just wanted to keep within time. I will open it up to questions.
Yes, yes, ma'am. So, thank you so much, ma'am, for the insightful session. Without further ado, I would like to invite our moderator for the session, Ms. Chaya K. Ms. Chaya is an accomplished professional with over 12 years of experience in dietetics and applied nutrition, currently serving as an assistant professor at the Welcome Group Graduate School of Hotel Administration, Workshop, MAHE Manipal, since August 2022. Previously, she held the Department of BSc Food Nutrition and Dietetics at Pana UG College, Bajpe, and served as head of the diet department at AJ Hospital and Research Center, Mangalore, for 3 years. Her expertise extends to roles such as medical nutritionist for Healthify Me wellness products at KMC, Health Checkup Lounge, and consultant clinical nutrition at my three specialty clinics, Mangalore. And she also has been a visiting dietitian for various hospitals and nursing homes in Bangalore. A distinguished academic achiever, she secured first rank in MSc Dietetics and Applied Nutrition from Manipal University and is a member of the Indian Dietetic Association affiliated with International Congress of Dietetics. Her areas of specializations include clinical nutrition and pediatric nutrition, with teaching responsibilities encompassing subjects such as medical nutrition therapy, pediatric nutrition specialization, clinical dietetics, science fundamentals, and nutrition and food safety for culinary arts students. So, without any further ado, I would like to invite Ms. Chaya K to take over the session. Over to you,
Thank
ma'am.
you. Yeah,
Yes,
thank you, Pallavi. Thank you for that introduction. Good afternoon, Gauri ma'am.
Okay.
It was very, I'm privileged actually to hear about all the programs that you undertake under Juvenate Wellbeing. So it is really very informative, and some things what I would like to start the discussion with, which might have not been part of your presentation today, are particularly I wanted to know regarding when like you mentioned so many programs where you educate the parents and the teachers. So did you come across any special needs children, or a population with special needs, and how to educate that population, how to make them inclusive, and and what were the challenges you faced if you came across such population?
That's a great question. I did mention neurodivergent children in that we've seen in the classroom in the last one
Right.
year. To be very honest, the last 1 year has been where we have seen a lot more neurodivergent children in the classroom, as inclusive in the classroom. Because before this, they were, I know a lot of schools do have specialized educators for them, and they do separate them out. However, the biggest fantastic change that we've seen is that these children were included in the classroom.
That is
The To answer your question, we because one is the hyperactive behavior. So we've seen a lot of hyperactive children, where focus is a big key to what is happening. When we started, so I'll just give you example of one child that we were doing, that we were working with in doing the nutrition education for the school. And every time we entered the classroom, the child would never look at us, because that is the, they don't have that focal point. Second is, there was no communication in the beginning. As we progressed over the academic year, that's why one of the biggest things that we suggest is a consistent program. One is for the
right.
recognition by the children. Once children recognize the instructors, they form a bond that allows that retention of academic information. We
True.
saw the same thing with these children. So uh, so this one particular child that I'm talking about, we started off, he came in, lot of running around in the classroom while we were trying to do our activity, disruption of classroom activities, which was okay. And he had a caretaker who was taking care of him in the classroom, who had to restrain him all the time. This was in the beginning. The last session we had, the child walked up to us and said hello. And
Hmm.
so this is the biggest change that we've seen. sat down and partook in the we the last session was where we made bhel for everybody, and they took part in some formation of either putting other ingredients in, or mixing it. But he partook in that session, also ate what was provided. There are multiple other neurodivergent children that we've come across who don't eat what we provide in what we experiment in the classroom. So a lot of our activities have to do with food. So and
Yes.
it has to do with how you're going to, how do we eat it, or do we peel it, and those kind of things, or what does it taste like. And many of the neurodivergent children do not partake in that. But by the end of the academic year, we saw a lot of them saying, yes, I would like to try. So that
Yeah.
was a big change.
This would
But
also
right
be,
now, sorry.
yes. No, I
So
was
this is
saying this would
right.
also be due to like components like gamification and other things that you included, right? Where it helps the
Absolutely.
special needs. They're very good in other components and they will not focus in one place at a time.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. Shall we see some questions from the
Mhm.
attendees here? So
Okay, I think the
where,
first, yeah,
yeah.
please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am, you can take it.
Okay, so the first question is, can you share more specific details about the JW program achieved 60% better attendance rates? What methods of tracking? So, along with the school, so how we set up the program is we tie up with the schools, and we have specific forms and formats that go along with each session that is conducted in the classroom for the child. This includes attendance, and includes how often the child is coming into the class, and is corroborated with the class teacher themselves. If the class teacher, and the class teacher is the one who knows all the children by heart, so she's the one who tells, oh, this child is not here again. Maybe it's just, has not been here for the last few days, has not been keeping well. So those were tracking points that we were doing. Although not so much in the earlier days of with individual children, but we are getting going into that component of individualized attendance and things like that, that give us very specific numbers. So so this is
Yeah.
something that we've
Ma'am,
that yes.
I think that answers yes. Ma'am, one question by Mr. J. Bharti. This is something even I had. So when we talk, at least in India, there's a lot of cultural sensitivity and food preferences. So how do you address this? Did you also come across such challenges?
Yes, that's why we use the portion chakra. So one of the
Yes.
reasons we use the portion chakra is because um, uh, it does not encroach on anyone's cultural sensitivity, especially when it comes to food. We talk about the protein group as a protein group. Yes, we do teach them about non-vegetarian foods, but a lot of parents prefer their children be vegetarians, and
True.
we do address that. And we again, when we come in with all with that concept of all food is good, it comes in, if my food is good, that means the person who's eating something different from me, his food is good also. We should not say bad things about food. So
Definitely.
with our taking keeping our Indian culture in rather than specific cultures, keeping our Indian culture that all food is good, that is how we approach the education program.
Should be. And I think in the curriculum also it should be a part where, right substitutes are given, alternatives for even, foods like egg is given so that
Right.
they understand, what other sources are available for the same protein or any other
So
nutrient.
that exactly. So in fact, we have these questions from our some of our kindergarten children, like our senior kindergarten children, where they ask, I don't eat egg. What do I do? So that's a great question, and to have
Exactly.
somebody at a 5 year of age asking something like that, I don't eat what I can't eat anything. So no, let's see what the other proteins in that protein group are. So
Correct.
that's how we. So the teaching goes through in that manner, where it is completely at their age appropriate level, and they understand. Okay, if I can't have this, I can have this.
True. And that will also reduce parental anxiety, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I
Uh,
think there's a parenting question here somewhere.
exactly. They have a lot of anxieties. Yeah, true. How to address cultural, we took that. So about technology integration, there's a question,
Mm.
ma'am, from Ms. Veena Nayak.
So one of the technological that we are working on in the back end is to have possibly an integrated LMS system, learning management systems,
Okay.
through an application that focuses. Okay, this is going to answer that other question. I think there was another question. What is the strategies have most effective in engaging parents? So this
Yes.
was
Part of
specifically for parents. So technology is actually meant for the parents. It's
correct.
to ease their, it's for them to understand what is actually going on in the classroom, as well as provide nutrition education components based for their child's age group. So they understand that these are the things that are being taught to the child. These are the things that they should know as parents. And we are trying to integrate that into an app so that the
Very
parents
nice.
have access to it. Yeah.
Very nice. This is something we should do a lot here as well. Thank you. Also, would you have any inputs on fathers' perceptions? This is also something that is being discussed now. In fact, I'm, guiding a group which is
Mhm.
doing a topic on pediatric nutrition, and they are seeing fathers' perception on childhood eating behavior. So, what are your inputs on that? Has it changed? You believe?
That's fantastic that you're doing that, because I see a lot of fathers being more actively involved in their
True.
child's upbringing. So they do, and fathers absolutely have a huge role to play in the nutritional perception of food. So,
Definitely.
child's perception of food. These simple. So we talk about non verbal communication with parents. And one of the things that we talk to them is when daddy is served something that daddy does not like, and he does this,
Mhm.
the first thing the child sees is the face and their perception of the same food. It's the same thing like that I talked about with the class teacher, but their perception of the same food becomes diminished, which could have been a positive thing, now has diminished because their father made that face. I didn't say it's not that the daddy didn't eat it, but the fact that there is a non-verbal communication of I
Correct.
don't like this specific food. That is the very basic
The behavior, adult behavior
behavior.
also around the
So
food. Yes, very true.
around food, which is easily mimicked by children, and that is the first thing that children do. Are they're watching their parents, they're listening to their parents. That's why we have to be careful what we say and do in front of children.
Very careful. Exactly. Education definitely plays a role there, ma'am. Yes.
Yes.
So, Pallavi, what do you think we need? We should we wind up, or we take more questions from our other audience?
Yes. If there are anybody else in the audience who would like to present a question, we will wait for another 10 seconds. If not, then I think it's safe to say that we can conclude the session. So if anybody else does have a question, feel free to unmute yourself. You don't have to put it on the chat box. You can directly raise your hand or unmute yourself and ask the question. If not, we can wind up for the
Yeah.
day. Maybe I'll ask one small question. Since I am doing I have my bachelor's is in occupational therapy, and I've come across several instances where you mentioned about children not liking food and all of that. And now I'm pursuing my having oral sensitivity and all those issues, aversion towards food and all those issues. Now I'm currently pursuing my master's in hospital administration. So I would like to ask you, what can we do from hospital point of view? Is there anything that can be done from the hospital side? Because at times we see that we do have a lot of pediatric patients coming up to the doctors, to the clinical nutritionists who then get referred to clinical nutrition department and just have any sort of intervention for them. So my question is there anything do you feel that can be done from the hospital point of view, maybe like an outreach program or an educational program, or what can be done from, because this is health literacy unit that we're talking about at the end of the day, and what can hospitals do or take up initiatives that can help in addressing the issues or challenges that were mentioned and discussed during the question and answer session and during the presentation that you had made. So do you have any inputs for that?
Specifically for children with specialized needs, whether they're neurodivergent or any other specialized needs, I think one is sensitization of the of anybody who is in contact with them to what their requirements could be. So whether it's physicians, occupational therapists, dietitians who are not from that specific speciality of
Yes.
treating or working with neurodivergent or special needs children. Second thing would be, yes, like an outreach program is something that you should definitely do, but I think it should from the hospital perspective it should be done with foundations or organizations that are already existing, because they have an
All the
amazing
resources.
vast, exactly, all the research they have all the information, they have the ability to work with this group of individuals, and they also have a holistic approach. So I work with certain foundations. So Juvenate works with certain foundations to provide nutrition education. One of them is Samarthya Foundation, where we do a lot of where they are focused on parental information dissemination, where they have workshops for parents. And it's not just workshops such as oh, this is what you should do for your child. No, workshops too for self care for parents, which is extremely important, because these parents go through a lot. Expenses are huge, and and from the hospital perspective, you are the organize it is a larger organization, and they tie up with an organization that works with the community. I think that makes it a complete program.
Yeah, true, true. Definitely, that does make a lot of sense. Yes. So I don't think we have any other questions from the audience. I don't see anybody raising their hands or putting any more questions in the chat box. So it's safe to say we can conclude the question and answer session with your permission.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you
Okay,
so much.
wonderful. No, yes.
Thank
So
you. Yeah, thank you,
yes.
Ms. Gauri ma'am and Chaya ma'am, for your valuable insights and a wonderful session for the day. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
You,
Yes.
Shabam,
Thank you
for
so much.
having me.
Yes, before we wind up, I'll just like to give the vote of thanks or the closing speech. Yes. So, although we encountered some technical hiccups in the beginning of the session, I think we did have a smooth webinar throughout, and I think it was a very wonderful Q&A and moderation Q&A session, which was very well moderated by Ms. Thaya. So, the panel discussion has concluded, as I've mentioned, marking the end of the session, and it has been such an honor to represent Manipal Health Literacy Unit, which is the organizing body of this entire webinar, for such a fantastic event. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed speaker, Ms. Gauri Shingot, our moderator, Ms. Chaya K, the faculty members, the staff, students, MHLU members, and to all the participants without which this session wouldn't have happened. I would also especially like to thank Dr. Cherian Verghese, Director of Prasanna School of Public Health, along with MAHE Press and Media Administration, for all the support that you've contributed to us. While I may not have mentioned everybody by their name, it is my sincere thank that goes to all those who have contributed directly or indirectly to the success of this webinar. So once again, thank you one and all for participating in this webinar, and I hope you have something to take back to and look forward to working if you are interested in this field. And I hope this session did help in, giving you the right direction. So have a great day, and I hope we can see you again.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
Yes.
much.
Bolivia.
Yes, no
Thank you for being a
problem.
cheerful host, Shabam.
Yes, my pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Gauri ma'am. Thank you for your
Thank
insight.
you, Chairman. Thank you, Usha ma'am. Bye bye.